everybody, you're listening to and possibly watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in or possibly stream in. And we're coming at... Oh, boy. That I just got stopped dead there. Hold on a second.
What happened?
I have a tech issue. Hold on a second.
Oh
no. A tech issue.
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem.
Right back. Oh no, I don't have to come back. Okay. I resolved it. Okay. Sorry about that. Here we go.
Well, we're gonna see because I know last time when we were live streaming on the 8th, earlier this month, we had an issue where, for whatever reason, it was not streaming live to YouTube. It was not streaming live to our Twitch feed. So we will see if it is working today, because that was really annoying when it wasn't. Well, and yes, it is. It is working. Everything's great. Okay.
I very much apologize for stopping the show dead there, but I thought I was off. My screen went really weird for a moment. You guys went into like a V. And it wasn't the Riverside. It was my screen.
Huh.
I don't know what that was. let's hope it's not a trip to the tech desk on Monday. Okay. Or Tuesday. Yeah. No, well, I don't want to go to the office anyway. So.
Jesus Christ! I could not think of anything I want to do less than go to the office tomorrow.
Yeah.
My weekend got shot to shit, so I'm just like, can I have it back, please?
Oh.
Well, last week I had a short work trip, so I was hoteled up on Monday and Tuesday, and like the Tuesday night, out. I was out. Like, I want to say like 9:15. I think I went to sleep.
Oh, jeez.
I was up a little late, because we had happy hour. We had a happy hour the second night. I was gone from that really early. Stayed up for the Steelers, and it's I have a lot of feelings about Aaron Rodgers, but there's enough sentiment still in me that to think that his career went out on a pick is really it doesn't sit right with me. It's sad. But yeah, like I was like out last Tuesday, out. Like if if the hotel had an evacuation, I would have been a goner. I wouldn't have heard it.
There is something to when you're just really tired, sleeping in a hotel bed. Like if it's a good hotel, like
because they're always better than your mattresses.
Yeah, it's like everything is clean. Everything's like I've reached that point to where I'm just like, if I have to take a work trip now, yeah, sure. Like we can go out and do everything sometimes, but there is something about on this night, I'm going to be boring. I'm going to be a boring old queen. I'm going to go back to my hotel. I'm probably going to have a glass of wine by myself, lay in bed, read a book, and go to sleep in a bed I don't have to wash the sheets for. Like that's just it. Like that, and that there is an amazing, just kind of crisp refreshness about that.
There is a good feeling about that for sure. Yeah. I will argue though, I think my bed is the most comfortable bed in the world. And so I do my bed for sure. But when I do stay for office trip or anything like that, no matter what it is, even if I'm exhausted, it does take me like a couple nights before I feel comfortable in that bed.
No.
Yeah,
I'm already set.
Up and down, whatever, and
I'm already set.
It's not.
The first thing I do is check the TV, and then if I see like that there's no MSNBC, now MS Now, I think, oh, geez, we're in for it,
Yeah.
With the area, but
nothing but News Nation.
No, and now we just had 3 days of snow. I mean, not a hell of a lot of accumulation, but it's really cold here. So it was like I didn't uncover the car until today, and I really should have gone out earlier because I hate ice.
Yeah,
That's
it ices over, and
yeah.
Can't wait to see just ice melt away and not have to.
Oh no, I can't wait to see ice just vanish, become a footnote.
Gone. Yeah, that'd be nice.
Maybe with a
more
few prison sentences attached.
Brown shirted, grimy puddle of hate.
Yeah.
Still talking about weather, right, guys? Yeah.
Oh yeah, weather.
Weather.
So I missed the part of the winter weather this weekend. So I said my weekend got shot to shit. So we also had Arctic-esque weather. Like it's been below 23, getting down to as low as 11 here the past few nights, which triggers our hey, let's open up emergency shelters and get as many people inside as we can. So I've done that the past 2 nights, and actually we're opening again tonight. But because our team has grown, and this is something I'm very, very happy about and very proud of. Our team has grown a lot over the past year, and we've gotten some volunteers who have showed up and continued to show up and stuff like that. So I actually don't have to go there tonight. I get the night off. So I'm not, even though it's opening, I'm not going to be there, which I'm very happy about. I'm going to sleep in my own bed a little bit. So because we're going to do this again next weekend. Like we're looking at the forecast, we've got another blast coming in. It's going to be worse than this one. So I've got another week of this to deal with.
Yeah. I've been watching the weather, and even though I'm not going to be experiencing the weather here, I keep an eye on it for our house, for the outdoor animals, because we do have we've got quail that live outside. Well, they have their own building, but when it gets really, really cold, it's always kind of a concern. We're going out, checking in on them several times a day, changing out the waters that freezes, and it's not fun. But
yeah,
I'm glad to hear about the van.
That is a good segue though to say why we were recording on Monday night at 6 p.m., which I love. I absolutely love. I don't, my bags under my eyes aren't so bad. I absolutely love it. And it also is Martin Luther King's birthday as a national holiday, so we're here. But one of us is going on vacation, so that kind of knocked out this upcoming Thursday and the next Thursday. So we're with you tonight. And if you're joining us live, thank you. This is kind of novel. Doing this.
It's a very special episode of the Comic Book Bears.
Much like those very special episodes of Blossom.
Yes.
I'm talking.
We're gonna be talking about menstruation. We're gonna be talking about bullying. It'll be a very special episode.
I just like seeing the daylight outside when I'm talking to you guys.
Oh,
it's a weird sensation.
Yeah. There's still some glow from the sunset over here.
We're dark now.
I'm over here in the central lands.
Yeah.
Get a little bit more time.
So yeah. I don't think there's much news that we can cover.
No.
Not unless you're interested in the ins and outs of the social media feud between Gail Simone and Howard Chaykin.
Oh my God. Well, it's like I haven't seen Howard respond yet. No. And Gail's leaving out a big thing in her. She's leaving out a big element in her post.
A very big element. Yeah. Which I'm not picking sides here, because this is one of those situations where I don't know that there is anybody in the right. It's just two big forces and two big egos going at it.
Yeah.
And I respect Howard Chaykin. That does not mean I subscribe to everything that comes out of Howard Chaykin's fingertips or mouth. But I do respect him. I respect Gail Simone too. But it's been they're back at it for some odd reason today, because we don't have enough bullshit going on in the world. We need to focus on these two aggravating each other.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the first couple of comics, Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, are off in paradise. I believe last weekend they were part of a Comic-Con cruise. And so now are enjoying the tropics, and from there, usually there's a lot more social activism and a lot of other things that happen on, especially Palmiotti's Instagram and X, but lately it's just been pictures of really nice vacation, like beaches, and photos of really pretty places, and I'm like, oh.
And good for them, man. They deserve it. Like they really do. Those are fantastic.
I mean, I know, like in our chat, I think I was the one that it was basically like the people that were on this cruise were like the people who were at every comic convention.
Yeah,
but still, it's like
But see, that's the thing is, if you're
sign
gonna
me
see,
up,
if you're gonna see these people at every comic convention, it might as well be on a cruise.
Yeah.
Exactly. Might as well be on a boat.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
we
it's like,
wish
I've
everybody
never
well,
gone
and that
on
no
a
one came down with
cruise.
norovirus.
Yeah, I've never gone on a cruise. I don't really have a desire to. The one that I think I could have been talked into by our friend Tito was when Pulp had the Coachella cruise.
Yeah.
That Pulp on a boat, I think I could have been talked into that.
I could very easily be talked into going on a cruise, but it's not. For me, it's not the concept of a cruise that doesn't entice me. It's where most people go on cruises. I would have fun. It's not like, okay, you're in paradise, I'm just gonna be miserable. But the idea of a Caribbean cruise does not entice me at all. Just doesn't. Like an Alaskan cruise.
Alaska, yeah, I would much, yeah.
I've always wanted to actually go, and this has been a dream since I was a kid. I want to go on a fjord cruise in Norway. Like that sounds fun.
Or one of those interesting, and mostly it's elderly retirees who go on these, but the canal cruises, the river cruises in Western Central Europe apparently are gorgeous, because you basically go down these canals in the middle of beautiful medieval cities, and it's the same thing with a cruise ship, except it's a smaller boat. It's world famous European chefs, and you get to see all these beautiful towns and cities throughout Western Central Europe and stuff. But again, it's mostly, the no solid foods and all blue hair cruise. Anybody listens who loves going on there, please prove me wrong, but mostly that's what that is. So I think I've got another 30 years before I qualify to be on one of those.
Jersey MAGA is its own thing.
Yeah.
And the right-wing radio station here has what they bill as a cruise to Normandy. That's not a cruise. You're taking a boat to Normandy, and it's like a World War II thing that they're doing. And I guess it's not selling because there's commercials like all the time on local YouTube. Like you just can't avoid it.
I mean, who the fuck wants to be stuck on a boat with a MAGA?
Yeah, but that's what it's like conservative cruises. But like to Normandy, and it's the only port of call.
I mean, I don't mind going the idea of going to Normandy, but generally speaking, being at Normandy with fascists doesn't work out well for you. Historically speaking.
No.
Yeah.
So
seems kind of counterintuitive there.
Yeah, but they don't get it.
No.
They don't get it.
No.
Irony is that it does not exist. It's fine.
Yeah. When you
world.
cannot argue with people who see equality as oppression. It's really hard. And I think there's a lot more vibe in the nation right now of just putting that aside and say, you know what, it's us and it's them, and that's okay.
I mean, it's a fact. Anyway, happy Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
Yep.
We didn't learn as many lessons as we thought we did.
And it's I think it is ironic, as well. Well, okay, no, irony doesn't exist anymore. I think it is fantastic that when Martin Luther King Day became a holiday, a federal holiday, it was 1983, and Reagan was president. The untouchable Reagan was president, and there are still states today where legislatures are mad that somebody over the past 20 years decided to recognize this as a holiday. So, oh well,
I have a switching gears question.
Go ahead.
Moving back in the direction of comics. So over the past year, as you guys know, I've kind of shifted over, or actually a year and a half now, I've shifted over away from reading a ton, or like I don't have a pull box at a local shop anymore. Although a new shop just opened up, which I need to go open up a pull box at to support them. Some good people, right?
We know about that through
Cool.
Craig.
Oh yeah.
Craig opened that up. But I've been using Discount Comic Book Service, DCBS, like a whole lot of other people. The pull list feature can be very helpful, but one thing is befuddling me is that there are certain ongoing titles that will not add to the pull list, and I do not know why.
I have never done I've never done a pull list. I think I may have done it for previews for a while because I kept forgetting to add it. Which is easy on DCBS because it doesn't pop up in Marvel and it doesn't pop up in DC. You have to type out previews to get the thing. I think that's the only pull list I had, and even that I think I eventually just went, was just making sure.
Well, I do the pull list because out of a little bit of ease of convenience and a little bit of laziness, like there's DCBS is great because it's got a whole lot of stuff on there, but it takes forever to peruse through it. And so I'm very much just like, I want it on my pull list. I want to be able to click the buttons and just go and not have to think about it. But there are certain titles that it just will not add to the pull list, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why. But
I mean, it could just be the coding. It could like the individual codes for those titles. I know like Marvel titles, probably would be a mess.
Yeah, because, I mean, were they titles that maybe DCBS just gave up that there's so many reboots? I can imagine Hulk would be an issue because it's like immortal, incredible, amazing.
Infernal. That Infernal is one of them that I was talking about. So Infernal Hulk is an ongoing series right now that it's picking up. It's the new Hulk series, and it won't add it to my pull list. A book that I'm going to talk about later, Hulk Smash Everything. It's a mini series, right? And it won't add it. But I mean, there's mini series for everything. Like I can get the whole lot of DC's 6-issue series on there. I don't know. Yeah. It's just an odd thing.
Or maybe it's just because it's Marvel and or Marvel can't decide whether they've got mini series, ongoing series, or just rebooting everything every 6 months. So.
Probably me. I assume it's me. As usual, it's probably just me. That's usually the answer, is that I'm just stupid. So
blame the hamsters that are running the database.
Yeah. Well, have you guys had a good, like, relatively easy 3-day weekend? Like,
yeah, I got again because we were kind of like snowed in. I got kind of lazy. Like a lot of TV.
Yeah.
Like a lot of TV. I finished Lost in Space from the 60s. I've been slowly going through This is what I've been doing. During the week, I watch 3 60s cartoons, like an episode each day. And then on the weekends, I get out the DVD or Blu-ray sets. And so I've been going through Lost in Space, and I'm still going through because there's so many episodes of The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. And the reason Rocky and Bullwinkle wasn't in the 60s stuff because it actually started in 59, and I was going through like the Twilight Zone predated these because Twilight Zone started in the 50s and then the 60s. So I was trying to go through some of those. I'm eventually going to do Sea Hunt like that, which is nothing like the other two.
I swear to God, Bill Zanowitz, if you don't send us a picture of you in like underoos with a bowl of cereal watching cartoons on a Saturday morning at some point, I'm going to be mad. That's the most adorable thing I can think of.
I couldn't get this together, and I really should have. This is something I had wanted to do for the Super Friends 50th anniversary, was to do a live event where we would, try to do this on the QT so we didn't have to pay royalties, but, set up a TV at a club or something.
Yeah.
Start the day at 8 a.m. Everybody's in pajamas, there's cereal, and just replicate what the premieres of that day would have been, because the same day that Super Friends premiered was the same day that the Star Trek animated series premiered.
Really?
So I think that you had so you had like a couple things going on there. I still would like to do something like that. I still would love to host something like that, or with Chris, because Chris would be really good for that.
I mean,
but like you definitely would have seen me in jammies, and the only part where I deviate is I've never been one for sugared cereals, so So it would be like I'd be like the boring kid with Rice Krispies or cornflakes or.
There's nothing boring about Rice Krispies and cornflakes.
Boring.
I've loved
They're
grape
boring.
nuts since I was a little kid. So
my cereal of choice growing up was Raisin Bran.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I still have.
I love them
Raisin
Raisin Brans.
Yeah.
Now Roger loves candied cereal. Like
so does Rob. So does Rob.
Loves it.
I got him. You know how they sometimes have like promotional cereals that are only out for a certain period of time. They had one for Hot Wheels. And like I tried, like it was disgusting. I thought it was disgusting. He was just, it was just nonstop every day. So I had to, and because it was like, a short time promotion, I had to go to places like, what was the name of that place? It just closed. Oh, that sells like stuff like a little later than what was.
I mean, I would expect like an Ollie's might have
like
that
an Ollie's, but what the hell? Big Lots. Big
Lots.
Yeah.
Which had tons of that stuff where it was like just within the range that it wasn't going to be outside of the best before date, but
well, like when it comes to those
playing with it,
exactly. When it comes to those special promotional cereals, I mean, they're on the shelf for at a major supermarket for like maybe a month max, and then they're gone. So you kind of have to rely on some of these other stores, these Big Lots. Sometimes Aldi's or Lidl might have some of those special ones for a little bit as a special buy afterwards. But yeah,
well, I could never. Lidl is like that. That's like an alternative universe. Your familiar cereals.
I love
Aldi.
Lidl.
Let me say Aldi is.
Yeah. Lidl, Aldi, I love those places. Mostly for the non-brand stuff, but for some reason, Aldi's version of Golden Grams is better than I guess the standard Golden Grams.
We just got an Aldi's here in Little Rock, not too far from my house. Still have not been yet. It's weird. We have like in literally a 5-minute drive from my home, we have got a Walmart, a Target, a Kroger, an Aldi's, a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, and a Costco. Like we have got like 8 in like a 5-minute drive. We've got 8 just big chain grocery stores. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. So you have to hit them all on the same day when you do your shopping. So you start in the morning and then go all day to get all the deals.
Going into Trader Joe's makes me want to go home and just dedicate my life to being a smack addict. That store gives me so much anxiety. No one follows a pathway. That's just pure chaos. There's no I tap out. No, I'm not going in.
The parking lot alone does that for me. Most Trader Joe's parking lots are terrible. Not all of them. I mean, like LA, it's legendary.
Ours is like somewhat normal. The one where I used to work at was like you were taking your life in your hands.
Yeah,
as a pedestrian. Yeah, you were absolutely taking your life in your hands. And it's always the women. I don't mean to be sexist. It's always the women.
They're in a hurry. They've got a plan.
It's much like that Mateo Lane thing about white women. They have one rosé and like today is about me. But like the supermarket version.
It's not untrue. It's just not untrue.
Sorry, everyone else.
Sorry. I don't like. I don't like.
I can't wait for a little bit later to get downstairs. Roger's gonna ask, "What'd you guys talk about?"
My experience, and I'm in New Jersey, so I think there's.
Oh, you get mob wives.
A little bit of time here, you'll get it.
You get mob wives.
You get it. Yeah.
I can't wait.
I'm away from that. I'm away from that. Because I'm like by Princeton University. I grew up by it. Certainly, and then south of me was like what was literally the Sopranos houses were like a little bit south of me.
Are the mob wives making you say that, Bill? Wink if you need help.
No,
not yet.
That was like the worst acted blink I've ever done.
Wink. You have to say it too. Wink.
Agatha wink.
All right, we're going off in all kinds of weird places, especially for MLK Day. So we don't have news, but we have comics, and as we normally do, oh, here we go. On the Comic Book Bears, when we talk about comic books, we tend to start with books from the big two because that's what most people kind of tune in for, and then stay around for the indie stuff a little later. And we each have a big two book. Caleb, though, has the only Marvel book. So do you want to start with your Marvel book?
Yeah, I sure can.
Yeah.
Well, I bet I'm going to smash it. Well, and so I actually, kind of mentioned this book a second ago. It's the new series from Marvel, Hulk Smashes Everything, which I got out, of course, bought through DCBS. And it's, the Hulk is in a weird place right now with, what's going on. And number one, everything at Marvel is in a weird place right now because Marvel's in a weird place right now. But this is written by Ryan North, who I'm I generally enjoy his comics. Vincenzo Caruto did the art with Federico Blee on the colors and Joe Caramagna on the letters. But this is a little mini series, right? It's kind of one of those things that, it takes place both like in and out of continuity. It kind of stand alone. So I snatched it up, wanted to see what it kind of looked like. It was kind of that, Deadpool kills the Marvel universe kind of vibe to it a little bit. So the book opens up with our boy Stephen Strange. He's hanging out in the Sanctum Sanctorum, just doing general wizardry and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just all chaos breaks loose, and things are vibrating. You can tell something huge is going on outside. Books are falling off shelves. It's like an earthquake. And he rolls out just to to see the Hulk on a rampage, and he's just like, Banner, what are you doing? What's going on? And this all the Hulk will answer is that Hulk is going to smash Doctor Strange. For some reason, the Hulk is pissed, specifically at Doctor Strange is going to take it out on him. Why, you might ask? Well, very good question. That's a question that you maybe should ask in a book like this. It turns out that the leader, Mr. Samuel Stearns himself, is up to no good, as one such as him might be. And he has a plot afoot that he has set in motion. And what he has done is he's essentially taken on the visage of Doctor Strange to kind of act as a doppelganger a certain way. Snuck into where Bruce Banner was giving a lecture. Bruce was teaching at a college, and just took a frying pan to the back of the dome and knocked old Bruce out. Just waylaid him. Because why not start some chaos? And the leader is up to his machinations. He's there's always a method to his madness. But Bruce, as you might expect, Bruce thinks that, okay, well, how did this happen? I don't know why, but there's one person I can get to, and I'm going to go beat the pulp out of Doctor Strange for it. You don't whack me with a frying pan. As he, breaks everything down in Manhattan as he's going through and trying to destroy, all the things. But of course, it's the leader, right? And this is a very kind of base level, comic book. Not a lot of deep thought, not going to hide things. It's really ridiculous. Doctor Strange kind of figures out what's going on here. He figures out that there's something going on, and that it involves the leader. He's going to manipulate everybody because he needs to get the Hulk to calm down. He's got to stop the leader from doing bad things, and also, co-opting Doctor Strange's good name for evil purposes. But the leader's kind of got to jump on him because the leader is not unintelligent and ill-equipped. And one of the things that the leader is able to do at the end of the story, he sequesters Doctor Strange off and he traps Bruce Banner. And in order to get Bruce Banner off the board, which is usually what the leader is wanting to do, like he's wanting to do one of two things. He either wants to kill Bruce Banner or he wants to just take him off the board because Bruce is going to stop him. He sends Bruce away through time and space. And when Banner kind of gets out of the, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do of it all, going through time and space, he's looking around and he's seeing dinosaurs, specifically like a dinosaur carcass. Like there have been dinosaurs that have ripped another dinosaur apart, as they are wont to do in the, prehistoric eras. Hulk is now in a land of dinosaurs. And so what does Hulk do? Hulk does what he does best. He goes and he tries to smash some dinosaurs. And as he is going through and just punching dinosaurs in the mouth, the camera, so to speak, kind of zooms out and just far enough to see a comet or a meteor hurtling towards Earth. So Samuel Stearns, the leader, has sent the most indestructible force of nature back to a point where there is a global catastrophe, world-ending, annihilative event happening. And that's where issue 1 kind of ends up. Where's it going to go from here? I don't know. We'll have to stay tuned. This is a book that, like I was saying, for some reason, I can't get it to add to my pull list on DCBS. So I actually have missed the second issue. So I'm going to go back and have to order it and find it. And I've now remedied that. I've got issues. I think 4 is actually on the DCBS's pre-order list now. So I'm going to get those in. I'll get to read it later rather than sooner. But I'm on board with this, man. There's not a lot going on at Marvel right now that is really enticing me to Marvel. And I hate to say that, right? Because I love Marvel. And I'm not one of those guys that's going to, poo-poo on Marvel just for the sake of it, just because I like DC right now. I want both to be good all the time. But that is really not the case. It's not saying that there's not a lot of bad things, but there's just not a lot of great stuff. In fact, if you listen to our friends over at 11 O'Clock Comics, they always amass this kind of meta list of all of these best of lists. That everybody puts out the best comics of the year. And one of them, I think the Comics Journal, had like 500 something entries of the best comics of the year. Marvel only had 10 titles on that list. And now you might go, okay, but it's the Comic Journal, right? They hate big 2 comics. That's not they're just eager to poo-poo on them. There are almost every single absolute title from DC on there. There's a ton of DC represented on that list. So the people who hate mainstream comics are like, no, what DC is doing is something really special. And that's not happening at Marvel now. But this is a fun little, big, dumb, fun, ridiculous comic book story that if you like the Hulk, if you like the punch, the whack of it all, you like the interesting aspects of these characters, and you want to laugh a little bit instead of everything being all soap opera-y all the time, this is a fun book to pick up. I think you'll really enjoy it. And it's got great cartooning. Really, really great cartooning. I'm not mad at this style of Hulk at all.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Oh, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I totally hear you with Marvel, because I'm like looking at the books that I'm buying, and it's Spider-Gwen. Yep. It's the Zdarsky Captain America. It's ASM Torn, which is a miniseries, and Ultimate Spider-Man, which is about to end. So it's not inconceivable that I'll have orders in the next few months with 2 Marvel books.
Yeah.
Which is
I
don't like that. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. I want, I'm always going to be a DC guy. That I always will be. But a strong Marvel makes for a strong DC. A strong DC makes for a strong Marvel.
Right. It does.
And I just it's a little, I'm uncomfortable seeing that, because and I don't know if it's not for lack of trying, but nothing seems to be hitting the wall and sticking, apart from Ultimate.
Which is ending.
Even that, apparently was, finite in nature anyway. So,
yeah. Well, one of the biggest complaints that happens all the time from the people who do nothing but complain about comics and the state of comics and blah 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 is that they miss the old-fashioned storytelling. Or why does everything have to be epic? Or why does everything have to be about isms and genders and all that stuff? I want a good old-fashioned comic book, like a Marvel team-up that has, no major ramifications for the universe and isn't going to be threatening my, my worldview. Here you go. Here's one. It's fun. Yeah. It's great.
Here.
It's got Hulk and Doctor Strange and the leader doing shenanigans, and like all of this sounds like this would be something that I could pick up, in the 70s or in the 80s. I mean, this is that era type of storytelling, just updated and modernized and beautifully drawn. I mean, the art's great. I'm not sure how this is selling, but I bet it's not selling like hotcakes.
No, I'm sure it's not.
All the people are complaining about how they're missing their classic storytelling. I doubt many of them have picked this up.
When you give it to them, they either don't pick up on it or they complain about that too.
Yeah, it's not exactly the same. Can't you dig up Neil Adams and have him draw something? It's like,
no,
okay.
You can't. He's a dead man.
He's dead. He's not there anymore. But but yeah, no, this looks like a lot of fun. I guess is it going to be like a 6-issue or 5-issue? Like enough for
I think it's a 6-issue. I'm not sure what it was solicited as. I don't read the solicits nearly as detailed as I used to. For some reason, like I reached a point, and it's kind of the point that Bill reached a while back, where I realized like dedication to the minutia of everything in comics and having to, you know, meticulously read through previews and everything, and it was starting to feel a lot like homework, and it was taking away from my enjoyment, which is why I kind of like I had to do a hard reset about 2 years ago with how I read my comics and stuff like that. So I just don't pay attention to half of the like, you know, is this 1 of 6 and stuff like that, because at the end of the day it doesn't matter if I'm start to read a story, I'm going to see it through. You know, so it's not something that, you know, and also I don't want to know that, because if it's a 1 of 6, I might not pick it up. Right. And I know people are like, well, why would you not? But I just might not, because you know, I'll actually like ongoings. You know, I want the thing to reach 50 issues. So
and
I just don't pay attention to that.
Steve, also, you know, we've had situations in recent years where books that were scheduled for miniseries eventually became ongoings because of the sales. You know, 2 that immediately come to mind are Poison Ivy and Absolute Martian Manhunter.
Yep.
So I think
it's not happening at Marvel. just to be sure, just so we're all clear.
Both of
those. No, there was one book. I probably, you know, Caleb, you might be right. I think probably the most recent example was Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which was initially scheduled for a very finite run, but the collected sales were so strong that it just kept going and going for a time. And Marvel's done that a little bit. I mean, they don't, and it's very often that they don't solicit as miniseries, because it's like Caleb said, you know, it's like it's a lot easier to go back and pick up 6 issues of 6, you know, either collected or digitally, than you know, an unbroken stream. And it's strange. It's strange right now that soliciting as a miniseries has a detrimental effect on sales.
Well, but that's also kind of interesting, because it's also Marvel's current strategy is to do, and I wouldn't say it's just current. I mean, this has been going on for a while, but they've been talking about how they want to have shorter runs, restart with the number 1, so basically people have an easy jumping on point a lot. And there is something to that argument, but I mean, if I feel, because Marvel has made it very clear and announced as such, that there are really very few or no ongoing series anymore, why would I jump on and read a monthly floppy if it could possibly be ending? So I'll just wait for a trade if I want to read it. But maybe, you know, if they don't feel confident enough, and that's kind of, it's perception, obviously. It's like, if they don't feel confident enough that a series could go for 100, 200, 300 issues into the future, and just, you know, go 6 or 10 or 5 or whatever, then maybe I don't have the confidence that I want to jump on and read it. So, but
I do feel though that every book should have legacy numbering.
I like legacy numbering. I like reading something that's on. That's
I don't
on issue
care
like
if what's in my hands is a new Action Comics number 1, as long as you have a prompt saying like what 1000 XXXX issue is.
And you can't tell me that type of numbering is a deterrent to people, right? Because you look at the time. I mean,
not at this point.
Manga's not scared to go. I mean, One Piece is on like what, like issue 4,537, like, you know, and they're still not finished with the first fucking fight.
That's like Dragon Ball really was.
Yeah, and Dragon Ball is the same, which I'm going through and rereading Dragon Ball right now, right? Like that's the same way. So people aren't scared of legacy numbering. People aren't scared of I mean, look at, again, we're going back to a comparator, but look at what DC's doing with World's Finest, right? Like that's an amazing book, and they're up to what, issue 50 some odd things right now, I think.
It's almost
people aren't scared of that. Like Action Comics is up to 1,000. Like that's and that's one of their best books right now.
You give people good comics, and I don't think they really pay attention to what number it is.
No. And you know, if you take
speculation, absolutely. But you know, who's a speculator now?
Who's that weirdo?
Who's that
that one guy?
It's that is a culture completely wrapped into, like, for me at least, it seems like it's very much wrapped into brick and mortar comic book stores.
Yeah.
So
it's very
like,
interesting because, like, I'm on a lot of old man groups, because I'm an old man, and here's your key to say no, you're not really, but you see that with the absolutes, and these guys missed the boat with Absolute Batman #1, which is, if you want a first printing, it's $300
book,
$280-$300 book, and depending on the cover you want. And it's like, we're at a time, like, you can sample anything you want to now, between this stuff, like, you don't miss anything. I grew up, if you didn't have #1, you were effed. All right. The chances of you holding that, were much slimmer, unless it was something that was a phenomenon like Star Wars, which had endless reprintings,
Well, and I think that's true of media across the board too. I mean, even before, like before VHS, right? Like, if you missed the movie in theaters for a long time, you didn't know when you were ever going to see it again. There's another book that I just finished that I'll talk about later, where they actually broach on that. Like, how did these movies, before the idea of home entertainment video that was rentable, that you could watch, how did some of these movies stay in the zeitgeist as long as they did? Because they weren't in theaters. And it was purely just because people recognized the genius of it, and it stayed within the culture, and it stayed about something that they would talk about. But it was hard to go back and watch as well.
Yeah, unless they did a hey, we're bringing back Gone with the Wind into the movie theaters again after 10 years, or you go to the those second run theaters that had a long life, prior to home video and stuff. But I think the other thing, and we talked about this on an episode of Bear Cave of Terror, where we did Alien, that you could get 18. Oh gosh, what was it? It was 8mm clips. Basically, where it was like sort of like a 20-minute, maybe less, summary or cut of the movie that you wanted to talk about. And so if you had an 8mm projector, you could go ahead and watch, a portion of this classic movie that you wanted to rewatch, and it'd usually just be a few of the key scenes. But yeah, until you could go to your local video store and pick up a full copy of the movie, But now, I mean, you could just sign up for DC Infinite. You could sign up for Marvel Unlimited. You can go back and you can reread all of those great issues.
But at the same token, media, visual media is a little different.
Yeah.
And there are some properties that once it leaves streaming, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's not available unless you do it illicitly, which is why I still have tons of visual, which is why I'm a physical media guy. I like owning, I like being able to say, like, I don't care if it's like in rotation on Tubi and it's going to be gone and all of a sudden you're leaving soon, you see that, and then it's, oh my god, I've got like 7 movies and there's like 2 days left in the month. I don't have to worry about that.
See, this is where all, like, when it comes to physical media, this is where all the hoarders out there are sitting back going, I told you so.
Yeah.
And once I can find those copies,
there are some things where it's problematic, like Feud is problematic because it never had a home video release.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And that's really gone, because of the law.
Oh, and that was so good too. I didn't even think about that. That was excellent.
Yeah.
And then there's other stuff like I'll go with Steve. Steve knows I'm a very big documentary guy, and he kind of shares stuff with me in that whatever happened to Blood, Sweat, and Tears. It was so difficult to find that in the beginning, and now it's on every goddamn free service.
Yeah.
It's on every goddamn free service. Streaming's weird. I don't know how we got here, but I'm going to bring it back because Caleb's book is a lot like my book, where you're talking about team-ups and smashing, and we're in the midst of the DCKO event still. And the book that I want to talk about is Aquaman #12, which is Aquaman versus Hawkman, which is round 2 of All Fight Month. Okay. You said it before, Caleb. Big dumb
so one-sided.
Yeah. As you said before, big dumb fun. So what's going on here? Okay, so we've gone through on this show, and you can read squibs all over the place that, you know, some of the top tier characters in the DC universe have been enlisted to become this basically like this this fighting bracket to determine who is the Omega, so that they can finally defeat Darkseid. Okay, here we go. Aquaman and Hawkman, it's their turn to fight. Now, Aquaman's been gone for a little bit because he spent time in the Absolute Universe, so he didn't know it was the Absolute Universe, but he's back. And he's back, and he's much more powerful. I don't mean to be I don't mean to cut corners on this story, but it's basically, like, seriously, they fight, they talk about fighting, and then they fight more. Like, that's the whole issue. But sprinkled through that, you know, we do have moments where Hawkman kind of underestimates Aquaman, you know, and the initial fight is mostly in the air. Steve, like, this is like actually the second page. If you can go next to the next page, and this is where they're talking about the fight itself, and there's mentions of the blue, which is the green type energy field that Aquaman can now tap into, which gives him even more powers. And then if you keep going here, Steve, Hawkman at one point, because again, the KO characters can die and then resurrect. And that's what happens here, where Hawkman talks to his god and becomes a little bit more powerful for a while so that he can defeat Aquaman to become the Omega champion. Most of these stories as part of the KO have really been, you know, kind of superficial. And I mean that in a good way. Okay. They're not really digging deep into stuff, but, you know, Aquaman here, he's referring to himself as the Dark Tide in this. He's come back from the Absolute Universe much more powerful than he was. So he may actually be, along with Superman, a top contender. And, you know, there is some dialogue in there. It's like, okay, so people are underestimating me. I can use that to my advantage. And again, this is, at least in terms of the heroes, there's something beneficial to this, because, you know, whoever eventually is the champion can stop the biggest evil in the universe. It's just big dumb fun. And, you know, there are moments in the sky that Aquaman just all of a sudden shoots up this shit ton of water, you know, so that, that he can have, like, you know, a somewhat, you know, somewhat even playing field. Written by it's the regular team here. Jeremy Adams as the writer, and John Timms on art. Just a lot of fun. Yeah. I haven't been on top of every moment of KO, though I have it all eventually. But it would have been really good if my car didn't blow up, you know, over Christmas, and I had that preoccupation. That would have been a really good binge. But, you know, if you want fun old team ups and fun old fighting, you know, that's, you know, who could beat who. Aquaman,
I was going to say that's, yeah. I know it's hokey, right? But that's what I love about books like this, because it is the most nerdy thing, but in a most endearing way. Like, you know, who could win in the fight? You know, Superman or Thor? Like, that's the stuff that we talk about, or that like you know, that younger folks talk about. Maybe if you've moved out of superhero comics, you don't have those conversations. But it is
if you do it well, it taps into one of the reasons you got into comic books.
Yeah, like, you know, because it makes you go, well, okay, but what about the continuity? What if, okay, but in this issue, Superman could do this and he couldn't do that anymore. Like, you get to have those nerdy conversations, and it's basically a video game, right? It's Street Fighter with superheroes, and it is quirky and simplistic and fun.
Yeah. But again, the only thing I'll say with this, and because of the place Aquaman is, this issue has a lot more darkness to it than most of the KO issues so far, at least the fighting KO issues so far. So I think you guys would both enjoy this.
And I've been enjoying KO. I've been mostly sticking with the main title though. So I think the 3rd issue just came out of the series, but I haven't had this much fun with the matchups of 2 major heroes doing whatever since maybe AVX, and that was back in 2013, 2014, something like that.
And I just love the unexpected matches, like Lex Luthor versus Etrigan. I love the unexpected matches. I love the expected matches as well. This I think was this is like in Black Panther versus Namor territory of something you'd expect to see at this point, with a hero gathering. But I'm also enjoying the kind of loopy stuff that's down the pike in this.
You're right. Yeah, and AVX was 2012. I can't believe it. That's been 14 years. So, I mean, this is great. I love DCKO. I haven't been picking up the sort of like the corollary.
You know what I really loved post AVX was A+X. Do you remember that series where it was these like 10-page team ups of an Avenger and an X-Men?
Huh. No, I don't think I read
it was
those.
Like post, and there were there were things like Uncanny Avengers where there was this like detente and the team consisting of members of both camps, and Beyond Unity, and but they had this series. I think it actually lasted like 16 issues called A+X, and they were all like 10. Like there were like 2 stories in each issue, and they were all these like quick team ups.
Well, see, that's neat,
and they were really well done. They were really well done.
Yeah, it's too bad I missed them. Oh well, as we said, we all have a top 2 or big 2 book, and mine's no different. This one also was released the past couple of weeks, and is somewhere on here. There we go, and is actually the Absolute Batman special for Arc M. Now, everybody who watches the show, listens to the show, know that I am not a big Batman reader. I don't read the main title. I just don't read a lot of the tie-ins. I'm not big on the Bat Family books as much. I do like Gotham Academy. That's a little bit different. And I have read some of the Robin series, but I'm not a big Batman guy. But Absolute Batman, I have been, since day one, I've been on that book. And it's just so much fun because it takes everything that I already know about Batman. I may not be a Batman reader, but I know most of the Batman lore, most of the Batman characters, most of all sorts of things, because you grow up as a kid in the US in the 80s and the 90s. What do you got? You got Tim Burton's Batman movies. You've got Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher's Batman movies. You've got Batman the Animated Series. Like, you're going to be picking up Batman, through osmosis at least. And Absolute does such a great job of taking everything you know about Batman and just saying, like, nah, let's throw it all in a blender. Let's completely rewrite, reality here and give you everything that you know about Batman, but in a very different form. And I think this book is really interesting in that Batman does not make an appearance until maybe the second or third to last page. He's just a blip at the end of this book. This book is about Arkham, or in the Absolute universe, Arc M. And it does give you the history of this building, this institution in Gotham City, and it goes all the way back to the 1800s. And I would say, maybe the owner, the person who had been running the Arkham Asylum for years, for about 60 years, he's visited at night by a gentleman who is one of his biggest donors, who's just kind of asking about, the history of the building and the history of this institution, the Arkham Asylum. And so he gives it to him. And what's interesting about this, again, I'm a huge fan of 1950s and 50s related horror anthologies. And the story in this reads exactly like one of those. It reads like it could have been in Tales from the Crypt. It reads like it could be in the, the current Catacomb of Torment, just as a longer form story. And he's giving this tale of, his mother at the end of the Civil War. She's waiting for her husband, but instead is told that her husband died in an unnecessary battle after Lee's surrender. And she is so overcome with grief and horror and sadness that she kills the messenger and then turns the gun on her children, leaving only one alive. And the poor little boy goes into an orphanage and grows up looking for a way to help other people avoid this kind of fate where, he saw his mother descend into madness and, hurt those around her. And so he ends up making some money, getting some donors together, and builds Arkham Asylum in the late 1800s. And through the years, he talks about, we had a lot of patients that were suffering from mental illness and emotional distress. And we did have some particular inmates that were a little bit more harder cases. And of course, they show images of characters with tattoos all over their face or some strange something strange in their appearance, and you're like, wow, these are very much like early Batman villains. But of course, he's talking about this in the in the 40s, and as he is talking, he also recounts a story about a little boy who he had found as a young child, and brought back to health. I guess the boy had been through some kind of trauma. He was found covered in blood that wasn't his. And, he sort of raises this boy and raises him probably not very intelligently, as his sort of assistant. I mean, this 12-year-old boy following him around in the insane asylum and just shadowing him around patients. Well, there's eventually a breakout, as happens in Arkham. I mean, that's kind of what defines Arkham Asylum. Yeah. But there's a horrible breakout, and he assumes that it is the worst of the worst inmates there. A character named Jack, who is horrific, reminds very much of the Joker, in that he never stops grinning or laughing, and he's horribly vicious. And he kills some orderlies, and they dig a tunnel out and escape with a lot of other patients. And it's kept quiet and everything, but the director of Arkham Asylum believes that this man ended up in England, in London, in fact, in the late 1800s, and is who Jack the Ripper actually is. It's his Jack. It must be. It has to be. It all coincides with his MO and how horrible it is. Well, not necessarily, because he is, unfortunately, the donor reveals himself to be someone unexpected. And he tells him to, well, maybe you should go down into the basement, where that false wall is that was, replaced the hole that they dug out behind the furnace to escape. Maybe you should go and check out who's actually behind there. Of course, the director does. You don't necessarily see what it is just yet. And in grief, he burns down the entire building. Which is not the end of the story. The end of the story actually fast forwards to the modern age, where the current owner, who you may have been introduced to in Absolute, what was it? Absolute Villainy. What was the book that had all the villains together? I want to say it was
Absolute Evil.
Absolute Evil. And of course, in Absolute Batman, I believe it was number 13 or so, where you're introduced to the Joker. You get to see who the actual current owner of Arkham, which was built in the place of the old Arkham Asylum, who's actually in charge now. And we're given a quick intro through a few images, a few names on folders of some very well-known current Batman villains. And we're going to be seeing what they look like in the Absolute universe. So I just I love this because, again, the buildup of it, the story was right out of an EC Comics story. Everything about it, the artwork, which is excellent. So this was written by Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry working together. The art was by Joshua Hickson, and Joshua Hickson also, I believe, has done some work for the EC revival over at Oni Press. And I'm like, it is here. Like this whole story could have been in an issue of an EC Comics title. And the whole thing just gave me like happy feelings because I'm like, oh, this is the horror comic that I love, and it's Batman.
Yeah.
But just the reveals, the little twists, everything about this was perfect. So if you haven't read it, absolutely just go run out and pick it up. It's, like I said, Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry on writing duties, Joshua Hickson on the art, and then Roman Stevens on colors and Clayton Cowles on letters. So actually, whenever you have a chance, it's a good one, one shot issue. You don't have to read it to get what's going on in the rest of the Absolute Batman title. But I mean, if you can get it, get it.
Okay.
It's just a good story. Like I love what's happening with this. Like, Marvel and DC both, they have to contend with 80 some odd years of continuity for a lot of these characters, right? Or, depending on who it is, there's decades of continuity for them. And what they're doing with DC with the Absolute stuff and Marvel with its Ultimate stuff, there really is a sense of like deconstruction that's happening with the continuity and characters to put them back up. And I think that's great because it makes them fresh again. But especially what they're doing with this Batman story is just the body horror. It's the same type of thing that I really loved with the Immortal Hulk, right? Just as far as a visual element, the body horror of all of this is just really interesting visually. And it's really cool, how they're looping in all of these villains to have a relationship with Bruce Banner and who Bruce Banner is. But man, just the grotesqueness of the visuals of these characters is super, like, it draws your eye. It makes you want to keep looking at it. It is nasty, but fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been having so much fun with all the Absolute titles and Batman as well. And like Absolute Batman is just, it takes everything that I know about Batman, twists it, but then throws it right into the context of a horror comic. There's a lot of action, yes, but there's also a lot of horror to it, and it's cool. It's
cool because it's like, oh, you don't know 70, you don't know 80 years of Batman lore and history. Okay, well, we're going to give you a book that has stuff that no one else knows either. Yeah. No one knows this, right? We're going to learn it in real time together. There's a novelty to that. I think it's fun.
Yeah. And even if you do know, I mean, you get all those characters as well, but they're presented in a completely different remixed way. So, very fun. Oh, and Bill, you're on mute.
Let's try where I'm not on mute. One thing I just did want to add, you had mentioned, like, if you can find it, DC's been very good about additional printings.
Right.
So if you want to hold it in your hands, I think that people will have an opportunity.
Absolutely. And this one I think is going to be one that's going to have multiple printings, because I think when I was talking to Tony at my LCS, who's the owner of my LCS, he was basically saying, yeah, this flew off the shelves. People were calling for it on that Wednesday when it came out, just trying to get a copy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely popular. It's definitely just as much as the annual. I think annual #1 also flew off the shelves too.
Yeah.
So yeah, but if you can find it on a first printing, pick it up. If you can't, then just wait a little bit. It'll be out pretty soon. And I think if you have DC Infinite, it'll be available within. I forget. There's a couple tiers now.
3 months, 6 months, depending upon the tier.
Yeah. So in 3 months, you can read it if you're.
All right. Well, why don't you have the mic? Why don't you just go into your indie book?
I guess I can
keep you going.
So, of course, like I said, I love horror comics, and I love the EC Revival imprint over at Oni. And what am I going to talk about? Well, I'm going to be talking about one of them, of course, because it is that time of year. EC likes to put out an annual winter special. It's kind of like a holiday special. So there's some holiday stuff in there, but it's also, just perfectly created for the season, and that is Shiver suspense stories. So this is the second one that they've had this in the past 2 years. It came out in December, so just last month. You can still find it on shelves, I'm sure. But like most of the EC comics, it is a set of 3 to 4, and this one it is 5 stories. And that includes what they've started doing in some of the issues is a classic story from an old EC title. And that one is from Crime Suspense Stories number 12. It's called The Execution. And it reads very interestingly. It's kind of cool. It's a story about a man on death row, and it counts down like every 15 minutes. It's just a new panel talking about how he couldn't have murdered the person that he's being executed for, because he met some traveler on the road and he spent so much time with them. So that was his alibi, but they could never find the person who he helped on the road. And of course, the irony at the very end, the person who he helped, who's been, away for a year or so, is the executioner himself. And he came back, and his last words are, "Oh, I wish I could have helped that man do something, but oh well." It's like, horrible. But a lot of the other stories in here are definitely modern and look at different aspects of the season. In this, there's a second cover, one of the multiple covers that they do. This is actually illustrating one of the stories about mistletoe. There's an asshole who's going around killing women if they don't give him a kiss under the mistletoe, and of course that, in good EC fashion, turns around and bites him in the ass in a very gory way. And then also we have probably what is one of the most positive stories that has a happy twist at the end, is one concerning the prophet Jeremiah and a young Jewish boy who's celebrating Hanukkah, and he's horribly bullied at school. And every night for Hanukkah, he gets a different prank. And he uses those pranks to get back at the different kids that were bullying him at school. And on the final night, the last prank is a gun, a loaded gun. And he's like, well, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take the worst of the worst bullies. I'm going to take it and scare them. Well, when he gets to the bully's house, he sees the bully being abused horribly by his father. And he threatens the father and saves the boy. As they end the issue, it's not a story I'd like to emulate, but as they end the issue, he's happily explaining Hanukkah to this boy who's been bullying him. Oh, 8 nights of presents and lots of chocolate. Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. Which, is something that you don't really see too much for these EC stories. And of course, there's a great Santa Claus themed one that confirms that involves this schlub who's a horrible Santa. Some really hilarious moments and great images from this one, who finds himself in a mall after it's been closed on Christmas Eve. So a lot of fun, just a lot of goofy gore, just great stories. And, the collection of artists and writers this time, you've got Ben Winters, George Northey, Melissa Flores, artists like Lucas Kettner, Dan McDade, Sammy Cavella. Just a lot of fun. I mean, there's just a lot of really great, cute stories in here, fun horror stories that are just in the EC tradition. And again, if you haven't been picking up any of the EC comics, what is up, man? If you like horror comics, you should be following these. They're great.
Those sound, yeah.
Thank you for that. You've definitely been keeping us up to date on the EC line over the last months.
I literally buy everything that they put out, because every issue is so much fun. There are 2 ongoings currently, Catacomb of Torment and Cruel Universe, the second volume of the Cruel Universe one. So if you want your standard horror comics, then Catacomb. And if you like sci-fi twists, then that's Cruel Universe.
I was just wondering, did you buy any of the EC read launches through paper cuts like 10 years ago?
No, I didn't, because I didn't know that they were coming out.
Okay.
It wasn't in my
okay. Because I understand that those were like a little more all ages because of the kind of dynamic that particular publisher had. And I was just wondering if that was anything you had sampled.
How does all ages EC work? How's that supposed to
Well, it didn't if they're not around now.
There you go. There's the answer. But I like the
also, I don't
EC.
know if that was an exception to Paper Cut's line, but I do believe that they were maybe not all ages, but a little more youth centered.
Yeah.
I'd have to do some research. I really don't know enough about it.
I've always loved the classic EC stuff. I think the first time I ever read an old Tales from the Crypt collection, I was in 6th grade in Catholic school, and they actually had one at the school library. So that's where I just sort of like fell in love. But yeah.
All right. Over to Caleb. Tell us about something else you're reading.
I will, but first, Bill, I have an update related to your Woof of the Week from the last episode, where you talked about heated rivalry. So I told you that my husband is one of the people who is obsessed with this show, right? Like super obsessed. We're sitting on the sofa 2 days ago, and I'm reading comics. He's reading one of these, books on the heated rivalry by the same author, and he looks over me and he goes, "Is Mr. Miracle a real comic book character? He's not steeped in our world, right? So he's not steeped in our world, but give him some grace, right?" And I looked and said, "Yeah, he was created by Jack Kirby. He's a Jack Kirby character. He's part of his 4th World Series when Jack left Marvel and went over to DC. Why?" And he said, "Oh, they mentioned them in this book, in one of the heated rivalry, or one of the same books by Heated Rivalry, because one of the characters is a comic book kind of person, and they're talking about him." I was like, "Oh, well, was it just a passing thing? What'd they say about him?" Well, they said that he's a Jack Kirby character that was part of the 4th World stuff. so like just referencing, I thought it was really cool that in this universe, like they do reference Jack Kirby, like there's a 4th World reference in this stuff, and I thought you would get a big kick out of that. Because my husband turned around and was like, "Is this real?" Yeah. And the explanation I gave was almost verbatim, like that was the mention in the comic book. So
I'll try to find the video from what I have that you might want to forward to Roger, because I was at a Comic-Con where they were doing cosplay, but it's at a ski rink, and a guy cosplaying as Mr. Miracle is skating.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll try to find that video for you to share with Roger.
I'll do that. Yeah, I also got to explain like Big Barda to him as well and stuff. And at that point, his eyes glazed over. He was like, "I'm going back to my hockey smut.
I'm going back to my hockey smut."
To see him on skates might be like kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So, okay, so the book that I'm bringing to the table, it is an indie book to some extent, right? It's published by Pantheon Books, but it's a very well-known cartoonist, I think, or at least should be a very well-known cartoonist in our world. And so that book is a memoir that I received for Christmas as a gift, but it's Maurice Velkamp's memoir. It's called "I'm So Glad We Had This Time Together." Maurice Velkamp is a gay cartoonist. He's a Toronto-based cartoonist, but if you go look up his stuff, draws a lot of very queer-oriented things. Has been published by Vogue. Drew a bunch of stuff for Abercrombie and Finch Quarterly when that was a thing. Very, very well-known artist. But this is his memoir, right? And it's basically a story of his life. If you're not into memoir, then maybe this may not be for you if you don't want to listen to the history of these people's lives. But I found this incredibly beneficial, I think is the right word, because I think in our lives there's so much stuff that we can find parallel and shared experiences and queer experience. And I'll get to why, right? So I'm not Canadian. I grew up in the American South, but Vaillancourt, he's from Toronto. He was born into a first generation immigrant family. His family's Dutch. They're very Lutheran reformist, so they're very religious, very big family. His mother is a teacher to some degree. His dad, just does whatever he needs to do. He's a handyman and janitor at school, but they're doing what they need to do to make a life for themselves. At a very early age, Maurice kind of developed, a tell, so to speak. Like he was not interested in roughhousing with the boys. He liked art. He wanted to watch TV. He liked being around his mother. He liked doing things with her. and kind of was attached to her hips. And you know, as he grows up in a very religious family and starts to hear things about, you know, homosexuality and how that doesn't fit into the world, he starts to feel like, okay, well, maybe I'm kind of a fish out of water. I don't belong anywhere. You know, I'm just maybe a mama's boy and I'm a sissy, and I don't understand why these things that I do that are natural to me, or you know, these little tales that I have are wrong. But you know, I'll just go with it. You know, I'm just going to be sweet to my mom. She's the love of my life, and I'll grow up and it'll be all fine. Um, as life starts to happen, you know, he hits puberty and starts to feel feelings and have attractions and things like that, and all of the negative connotations for a closeted young gay man come with that. And he develops a little bit of you know, the angel on each shoulder, the angel and the devil. And the way that it's presented in this story, it's, you know, there is an inner child, and then there's this kind of grotesque monster that is, you know, fear and anxiety based, and those two compete all through his life. He goes up, you know, grows up to be a teenager, and again, kind of gets into art, gets into music, is very much into the new wave scene. Starts to, you know, as he you know, as a kid, he's obsessed with like Carol Burnett and just the comedy of things, and so he looks into liking television, and he wants to be a writer, and he loves Disney, so he's watching all of these beautiful Disney shows, and he starts drawing, which is great because he does in fact grow up to be a very successful cartoonist and illustrator in his own right. But he's looping all of this stuff together, and it's making him like the little, you know, queer kid, right? The queer artsy kid that makes him a target to in so many ways, both to people who are, you know, ill-willed to him and to his own family who don't mean any ill will. They just don't know what to do in this scenario. And that has lasting impacts on his life. He grows up, goes to art school, kind of has a rift between his parents, as many kids do. They don't know how to make it work. He doesn't know how to come out, but he also doesn't know how to be a gay man. Like he's repressed so much stuff, and he's a very effeminate, you know, man, very effeminate boy. But you know, he's not comfortable having sex. He's not comfortable doing these things. He has a hard time finishing in some of the encounters that he does because there's kind of a mental block. There's a lot of repression there. Even as he grows up and accepts who he is as a queer man, and allows himself to kind of look for that, and engage in queer communities and surround himself by queer people, he still feels like a little bit of a fish out of water because he's still hanging on to a whole lot of baggage. And he, you know, the success of his career really has a impact on that because, you know, he is writing queer coded comics, and so even as an art student, when he has to come out because there's queer themes in his work, he's struggling with what that means for him and his future. You know, and this is, you know, this is in the 80s and 90s when the AIDS you know, epidemic is a major thing as well, and they discuss that in this book. But there's a lot of personal growth in this towards the end of the story, and there's a lot in this book. It's a very thick book. It's I think at final count, page count was 500 some odd pages. Well up there, even in the epilogue, it's close to 500 pages. There's a lot of story here as he goes and he befriends people, and he fails and he succeeds, and he fails and he succeeds, and he tries to find his place in the world, and he moves to New York, and he flies around, and he goes to Paris in the Fashion Week. But one of the really neat things that they do in this book, and that Maurice is telling him as far as how to wrap himself in the story and really go back and reflect on who his parents are and their history, and kind of the learned behaviors, and the, whether you want to call it childhood trauma or childhood repressive trauma, like kind of what that is. He starts going to therapy. He finally just goes and sits down with somebody, and it takes him a little bit to find the right therapist, but eventually, you know, he learns to kind of accept who his parents were and kind of see things not necessarily as, okay, well, these are things that they did are okay, but how it impacted him in his life. And it's working through those things that you start to see something really cool. That little cherub, the little inner child on his shoulder, starts to grow with him in the story, and that child starts to, you know, to develop into a teenager, you know, and into an adult as it grows with him. And that little other monster that never goes away, but it learns to have to work with itself, and as he's growing into his own person. I thought that was a great visual element as far as some type of like personal growth. And what he learns is that his parents aren't inherently bad people. They were very affected by World War II. They were very affected about moving to North America, about getting into Canadian culture and what that means, about just trying to carve out a life for himself, for their family, and what, wanting the right things for them, and also having to deal with the fact that, hey, maybe your kids aren't going to be successful in the way that you deem them to be successful. Out of 5 kids, maybe you're going to have a couple that struggle with finding jobs and aren't, just the best thing. And maybe the kids that are successful in the ways that you always dreamed of being successful are still a little bit fucked up, right? And not saying that the being gay aspect is the fucked up thing, but just the mentality of things, and the blocks that you put in there, that we put in ourselves, the learned behaviors and the fear of disappointment that we may have. We don't want to disappoint our families. And there's a lot of that spoke to me in reading this book, through my own, kind of shared history of this and development. And I'm not an artist, and I'm not the kind of gay man that Maurice is, right? But there is a shared experience there that I think is very valuable. And I think memoir, specifically graphic memoir, is an amazing medium to tell those stories, right? Memoir in general is a great medium, and I encourage people to look into it because it's a fantastic way. To me, memoir I enjoy it a little bit more than biography because it has more emotion to it. It goes into more of the psychosis and the psychology of who we are, maybe than a biography will, which tends to deal with just facts. But there's a little bit more of a creative writing element to something like this as well, and it's fascinating. The look into his gay culture versus the look into other people's gay culture is interesting. The sexual exploration that he finally allows himself to have, both, all through his life, he's finding different ways to allow himself to have sexual exploration to a point that he finally finds some fulfillment in what he's looking for. I thought that was incredible. When you've got blurbs by Anderson Cooper, Gillian Tamaki, and there's a blurb by Neil Gaiman on here as well. Despite the baggage that comes with that, there's a great craftsmanship when Neil Gaiman's a great craftsman. He may have done some things that we tend to look down on in real life and have some ramifications, but you can't deny the expertise and the craft that he has. So look this book up. Steve was kind enough to throw up some of the images and the cartooning style that is in this book, and I found it really moving. It's going to go up on my shelf, that I've got a shelf of just, kind of queer oriented books that speak to me. And I think it's a fantastic story, and it may help you too, right? It may help you work through some things. The proverbial you listener who's out there listening to this, you may find something in your own life. You're like, hey, this guy did some heavy lifting for me, and maybe I can benefit from that. I certainly did. So again, the book is, I'm so glad we could spend this time together. A memoir by Maurice Vellecoop. Go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, my first question was, and you answered it there, because the title, that's the first lyric from the farewell song on the Carol Burnett show.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm wondering if that was very intentional.
It is, and so part of that comes from his mother. His mother and father were very strict. They had 5 kids. They were very religious. Again, kind of this reformist Lutheran. I think they're Lutheran. They don't come out and say Lutheran, but they talk about Martin and the work that he did, and that's kind of the path that they follow. But Carol Burnett and just television in general as a medium entices him at a very young age, and he's drawn towards these funny women, and so that plays a big role. Bill, you'll find some appreciation in this once he grows. All through his childhood, his mother calls him Maurice. That's her nickname. She says Maurice. Well, later on in life, he develops an appreciation, and if you look at his actual work, the Smiths show up a lot, but he learns to appreciate Morrissey, right? And he's like, there's been this entire conceptual thing my entire life, to be part of this art world and the work that meant, and how and he says it in here. He's like, I never truly understood Morrissey in the moment, but even looking back, Morrissey was the voice of a generation. And so, I thought that was great. There's amazing pop culture elements in this and pop culture references that play into his development. Movies play a huge role, both art film and just pop culture film. So it's because it's an escapism, and for him it became a career, but for a lot of us it's like, this is how I can view a world that maybe I'm not allowed to be a part of, or I don't feel comfortable being a part of. So Interesting.
Okay. And who's the publisher on that?
So the publisher is Pantheon.
Okay.
Pantheon Books.
Okay. Well, you handed me a transition, though you never would have thought it, because you just talked about Morrissey and then Morrissey.
Mm-hmm.
And the character that I'm going to talk about was created by one Pat Morrissey. And Pat Morrissey was a police officer with the New York Police Department and would write and draw comic books on the side under his pen name PAM. And one of the characters he created was Peter Cannon Thunderbolt.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve, I think you have some graphics here. So just some background on Peter Cannon Thunderbolt. He was published initially by Charlton Comics. When Charlton Comics sold the Action Heroes line to DC in the mid-'80s after they really weren't doing much with them, one of the characters was Peter Cannon. Caleb and I, as people who went through law school, know all about right of reversion. And this was one of the few times that DC lost ownership of a character by it reverting to the estate of Pat Morrissey when that window was open. And what the family later did was sold it the rights to the character to Dynamite Entertainment. And Dynamite's put out a couple of Peter Cannon Thunderbolt series. The first one was in 2012, which was written by somebody who's mostly known for an artist, and you'll see here, there's a connection there. Alex Ross was Steve Darnell, and the artist on that was Jonathan Lau. And then this is knocking me out because I thought it was much more recently than this. Kieran Gillen and this excellent artist who should have much more of a following, Casper Wingard, had a follow-up series also titled Peter Cannon Thunderbolt in 2018, 2019. So the character of Peter Cannon was an individual that was brought up in a Himalayan monastery, and he was the most pure, most intelligent, most skilled fighter, because there was a martial arts element to this. And because of that, the people that were around him, the monks, gave him all these secrets, which gave him superpowers. And he went back into the Western world and started his activities as a superhero. Very basic superhero origin story. And there have been some revisions in the past, but as you were talking about, a very rich man, a very smart man, you're going to think about Ozymandias from Watchmen. And this was the principal influence on Alex and on Alan Moore when he created Watchmen with Dave Gibbons for the character of Ozymandias. And the 2019 Kieran Gillen series in particular was and this was also something that was happening at the same time as Doomsday Clock. And it was really like a very nice compliment to both Watchmen and Doomsday Clock. There was a lot of meta information in there and a lot of sourcing along those lines. And it was a very, very good series. What they do here, though, this is a completely new continuity. And it's very interesting because, and I'm not sure if this really has been explored too much. You do get that a little bit with characters that do have relationships to religious orders like Azrael. And I guess you could say the League of Assassins in some way is a quasi-religious organization. But as far as I know, this may be the first time that you have a superhero that emerged out of a cult in this particular incarnation. So what we have here with Peter Cannon Thunderbolt with this version, and let me first mention the creative team here. The writer is Fred Van Lente, and the artist is somebody who's been associated with the character. Jonathan Lau returns on art And apparently, looking in interviews, this is Jonathan Lau's favorite character. So there's a lot of excitement and dynamism to his work. And this doesn't nearly take the gravitas on that the Kieran Gillen written series did. This is much more a very conventional superhero story, but again with the team that is involved with some very sharp writing and some very slick visuals. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied here right now. So what happens in the first issue is there is a cult that's called the Awakened, and it's in upstate New York. And this is more like a militarized cult. And Peter Cannon grew up on a compound close to this, and there's been a massive suicide, but there's also some pages that suggest that, hey, maybe Peter Cannon had something to do with beating the hell out of some of these guys, and this is the next step that they went to. Now, traditionally, Thunderbolt had an enemy known as the Hooded One, and they do something very novel in this. There is a Hooded One, but it's actually somebody that took on Peter Cannon's identity when he went into the monastery. He also has an ally that traditionally was portrayed as a man named Taboo in the Kieran Gillen written storyline. It was clear that Taboo and Peter were lovers. There is some suggestion about this, but we have we do have a bit of a gender swap with Taboo being a woman in this case. And I just found it to be like a very sharp, very just a lot of momentum. It really came out of the gate. Like you have an action scene 2 pages in with just a minimal description of why these individuals are fighting. Steve, if you can go to some of the next, so this is early on with the paramilitary group that he's talking about. And then if you go to the next one, they're still going. And Peter Cannon is a bit weird. So he talks about his feet a lot, and it's like, yes, my feet, that's how they came in, because again, if this is somebody that's been outside of Western culture, some of the dialogue might be a little bit different than you would be expecting with somebody else who grew up in Western culture. And then if you can go here, just really kinetic fight scenes. You can see that this dude has like a patriotic, in quotes, tattoo there. So we know where this dude would be standing in our current zeitgeist. And then Steve, if you can go to the last 2, we see here that the hooded one, basically looks like Peter Cannon took his identity. And again, this also turns out to be a cult. And just and the mask thing was interesting because when they do have meetings, they have to wear some kind of mask unless you're exalted. And as we see here, it's just Tala and the Hooded One, who is unhooded, that has that benefit. I was a little frustrated, like a dope. I ordered the Alex Ross covers. These basically replicate ones from the 2012 series. And if you look, with Dynamite, they have some really good artists involved. There's some just a beautiful David Costa cover that I probably should have gone for, but we have another Peter Cannon Thunderbolt series, and it's a little different. And it's nice to see that, if you can't get the continuity that I love so much of it, basically being, Watchmen adjacent, this is a pretty satisfying alternative. So that's what I got.
I need to check this out, and it's Van Lente too, so that's a selling.
Yeah, well, Fred Van Lente's he's always a great read, and I know next to nothing about Thunderbolt. I mean, other than sort of the connection to Ozymandias from from Watchmen. But it's interesting that Dynamite also has another public domain character called the Daredevil, who also has the same exact costume.
Oh, and they go through that. Initially, they tried to get the rights to the Daredevil from Lev Gleason.
Really?
And they were like, well, we can still use the costume, yeah,
exactly.
with a little tweaking. And I know Caleb has, read the Lev Gleason book, and there's interesting stories there, to say the least. But yeah, it initially kind of began life, and then there was the complication of, by that time, Marvel had Daredevil after a year.
Right.
It was already on the newsstands for at least a year. But yeah, if you mentioned that, and I think the superpowers version that Dynamite has is called the Death-Defying Devil.
Death-Defying Devil, yeah.
But there are some elements to that too, with whatever that that character's origins also involved, monasteries and secret abilities. So. If a trope works, sometimes you use it again and again. But it's also interesting that this time around they are classifying it and characterizing it as a cult and not just a religious order. And I think that brings a lot of different flavor to it.
Oh,
especially I mean, God knows with Steve and I and all, how deeply we followed like NXIVM survivors and Scientology survivors. It's about time that was in comic form.
Okay. Gotta love a cult. Gotta love a cult. Gotta love
Make cults fun again. Yeah. Okay.
Make surviving cults fun again. I think that's we need those kind of stories because they're so. It's so nice.
Really nice pace to this episode. I like doing this at 6:00.
Yeah,
I do like this. Yay! Hooray for us! Hooray for William and Steve and Caleb! Hooray! All right. Well, I guess we have to start wrapping an episode up. We still got a little bit of time. We still got a little bit of train track here to go through. So we're not done yet. And when we start wrapping up an episode of the Comic Book Bears podcast, one of our final stops, not our final destination, but one of our final stops,
the penultimate,
is where we show off our Geek Gets. Now, I don't know, with Christmas, I didn't get a lot of stuff these last few weeks. So do you guys have anything? I have a few things.
I got a little something.
Yeah, I have one. And I do have to say, again, I've talked about these before because I love picking them up when they come out. One of the latest batch of DC's compact titles. And again, some of these books I own already. I have the trades or I have the floppies. So, those I don't. It's kind of like double dipping when you get them. Mm-hmm. Well, one of my favorite trades that I've had for a very long time. And, it's one that I like to lend out if I can be parted with it. But now I have an easier lending copy, and that is We Three. The Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely book that every single time I read it, it succeeds in making me weep openly.
Yes.
It is definitely a powerful story. If you haven't read it, go and read it. And now you have, the new DC compact version, so it's very easy to carry around with you and weep openly in public if you are one of those people that takes public transportation or just likes to go to a park and cry. But it is definitely a wonderful story. Lots of great action to it, but the characters of 1, 2, and 3 are just my heart. But now I've got it in compact form, so it's easier for me to pick up and shove to other people and give them the emotional trauma that this book did.
Yeah. That book will wreck you.
That book will wreck you.
Oh, Bandit, good boy, Bandit. Absolutely. Anyway,
that book and Pride of Baghdad.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. God. Oh, both of those books. Don't read them back to back, people. Don't read them back to back.
Give yourself a little bit of space there. In some ways, I think Baghdad hits a little harder because it feels more real.
Yeah, it's based on a actual situation.
but still, oh man,
There's a couple of them out there that'll get you.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Always the
Yeah,
animals.
that was
always the animals.
Yeah.
What was the Tony Fleece book? The one that first, not Ferals, but the one that first got us.
The Strays.
Stray Dogs. Yeah,
Stray
that's
Dogs.
another one.
Yeah. Mm.
Well, going back in time, like the first comic I ever cried from, was an issue of Johnny Quest, the Kimiko series based on Johnny Quest in the 80s. And all the Johnny Quest stories, I think until the end, were all like done in one stories. And this story is about Bandit, Johnny's dog, being dog napped by like this pre-Michael Vick's like pit bull ring. And there's this one sequence of one of the other bait dogs dying from his injuries, and the perspective is from his perspective, and remembering when he was a household pet and how much he enjoyed the backyard. And,
no!
About like how I'd love to hear "Good Dog" again. It'll wreck you. It will wreck the hell out of you.
I'm not mentally stable enough to read that. Nope.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Dynamite. Here we go. Dynamite Entertainment. You're doing an omnibus of the Thundercats. You sort of kind of have the Hanna-Barbera rights right now. Please look into the DC's done nothing with the Kimiko stuff, even at the peak of the Future Quest.
Yeah.
So please, I mean, this is, it's all the issues are written by William Messner Loebs. Great artists in the mix there, Bill Willingham and Sienkiewicz and Joe Staten. I mean, just really good artists throughout the run. I mean, just please put this out there because no one remembers this series. And then there's also an issue where you know about Race Band and you know about Dr. Benton Quest and everybody thinks they're queer, but they have the storyline of Johnny's, like what happened to Johnny's mom. It will wreck you. It will wreck you. Oh, it's the cancer sucks story of all time.
Oh,
yeah. All right.
Oh.
All right, there we go. Thank you for launching us on the depressing We Three.
What's the saddest book you can think of?
Right.
I'll try to
make you cry. Buy it. All right.
I'll try to lift this back up with my Geek Gets.
Okay.
Which are of a little bit of more of a musical variety. So, for reasons that I'm sure you can discern, I've been very much wanting to listen to pretty aggressive, somewhat politically charged music. So I've been getting really into listening to a lot of punk rock stuff, just going back and kind of retracing those steps and listening to it. It's what I listen to all day while I'm working and stuff like that. But I'm also at the same time building my record collection. So Bill has been kind enough to send me, a lot of the stuff that I have, especially in the punk rock stuff. I mean, I believe Bill is responsible for sending me both the Clash's London Calling and the Sex Pistols' Nevermind the Bullocks. So thank you, Bill. I added 2 records to the punk rock portion of my collection. One of them is a classic. One of them I honestly think will be a classic, and it's a band that I think is doing some really cool stuff. So a little old and then a little new, right? So the classic is the Ramones' Rocket to Russia. So I now have that on vinyl, as I should. It's good for your health. And the little new, a band that I have fallen in love with over the past year, and I think that they are doing some really important work and will inevitably maybe be a zeitgeist band that we look back in history that we think of as being like a pinpoint in time band, and that's Amyl and the Sniffers. I think that they're absolutely incredible. I think they're they are not just a band that you listen to and that we're going to forget about. I think that this is a band that will be around for a long, long time and will have very core albums that they have created important to the future of music. And so I already have their latest album. I already had that one. So I went back and got Comfort to Me, which is their second to latest album. I'm going to kind of go in reverse and pull some of their stuff. But if you have not listened to Amyl and the Snifters, they are an Australian band, very much rooted in punk rock. They were very aggressive, have an amazing female front woman or I guess that's redundant. They have an amazing front woman who has that kind of Sex Pistols off tone, just veracity about her, but the lyricism is incredible. The stuff that they write together and the music that they make is it just speaks to me. You just want to get up and move. It's so kinetic, and it's so important to the state of the world and to the things that we are seeing being done. And if you ever wondered, like, okay, is this current environment that we're living in, is that going to produce the type of good punk rock music that maybe spilled out of the 80s and the Reagan era? And the answer is yes. And if you need an example of that, Amyl and the Sniffers is a good example. There's several others, and I'm going to add to them later on. But this is a key version of that. So go pick up all of their stuff, put it in your brain, let it live in your ears.
If you go through the Comic Book Bears feed, I had a failed podcast called UKP&W, which was punk and new wave. And we're coming on, this year ends in a 6, and the first real punk records out of the UK came out in 1976. And I'm kind of thinking maybe I want to revive that somehow. Love to find a host that's like aligned with me, because there's so much great stuff. There's so much great stuff. If I can make a suggestion to you, Caleb, for something you may want to investigate, just for the old style punk, and like in terms of getting this on vinyl, I think it's going to be nearly impossible unless they ever a reissue. But there was a group called the Adverts, and the writer was the songwriter was a gentleman named T.V. Smith. Their debut, Crossing the Red Sea with the Adverts, as far as I'm concerned, this should be up there with the Pistols and the Clash and the Damned and the Stranglers in terms of like really hot debuts. It does sound dated, but the Clash sound dated. The Clash definitely sound like of their time. Sex Pistols, I think, there's a little more timeless feel to them.
I would agree. Yeah,
but I think, and I'm not saying that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
it's like Sandinista could only be a 1980 album. It could only have come out at that time. I think the rewards might be there for you if you investigate that. The Adverts, Crossing the Red Sea with the Adverts, but definitely get a version that has both Gary Gilmore's Eyes and One Chord Wonders on it.
Okay,
but yeah,
we'll do so. I'll investigate that. That will add. I will. Put that on my work playlist for tomorrow. Yeah, just like it. This is where you started to see some more intelligent punk. Less guttural and a little more forward thinking, and I think you like that. I have a music Geek Get, but it's a different area of aggressive music. So it's. The holidays are a time you get some gift cards, and there was one particular store that it's very limited what you could get there. But I was able to get the reissues of the first 2 Metallica albums of Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning. And these are reissues on their own record label, Blackened. As the stickers say, remastered for the first time. So, between the two is like Search and Destroy and Whiplash and For Whom the Bell Tolls and Fade to Black and Creeping Death. So real classic thrash. Yeah.
And then
some of the best Metallica in my opinion.
Yeah, it's I hate to say it, but they're one band up to Cliff and they're another band after.
They are. And that doesn't mean that
and there's merits to both. But there were one band up to Cliff and there were a different band after.
Cliff Burton was a god. Like the world would be a different place if Cliff Burton had been able to keep making music.
But they also found 2 very worthy successors.
They did
in the bass player spot. And then people know that yesterday was the 121st anniversary of the birth of Cary Grant. 122nd. My apologies. And I have all of his movies that are legally available on the home video release. And over time, because I'm not made out of money, I don't always get everything as soon as it's released. So on a rotating basis, I pick up the Blu-rays, the upgrades from DVD to Blu-ray, and I got the Blu-ray for Topper, which was one of his first actually really big hits that you could attribute to it being Cary Grant. You know, the hits that he did with Mae West were really Mae West vehicles. You know, but an interesting thing, this was actually came out of the Hal Roach studios that were responsible for Our Gang and Laurel and Hardy, and use a lot of, you know, some very clever comedic tropes. And if you're unaware of the storyline is of Topper, Topper is actually the lawyer for a couple who die and come back as ghosts and kind of help Topper out. So Topper from 1937. Did I get that right? 36. Almost got it right.
Topper, I barely knew her.
Ooh. Now you stop. Just because it's MAL weekend doesn't mean we have to talk like that. All right. All right. So let's go on to our final destination, which is when we talk about our woofs of the week. In the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him. And we do something very similar where we woof at something which may be comic book or comic book related, but it also may be film or television related, maybe a child initiative, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
Well, my woof of the week is a TV woof of the week. And this is one that, if you remember, if you go back 12 months, you may have heard this same recommendation before, but my woof of the week is the return of HBO's The Pit. And this is one, just every episode is so amazing. With 1 hour of television, you get all of the emotions, you get some incredible performances by an amazing ensemble cast. And it's, you know, and it's funny to say it, but, you know, I haven't felt this way about a medical show since the original ER back in the early 90s. And it's kind of, you know, it makes sense that it's involving some of the same creative talent from that show. And of course, Noah Wiley is the star here, but there are so many wonderful stars and co-stars in this series. There's just not enough good things I could say about it. And with a relatively new, some new faces to the cast, including El Hashmi, who's the new attending, who's going to be taking over for the main character's tenure while he's on a sabbatical. It's just an amazing thing. And of course, the conceit of the show is that it takes place in one shift. So each season is one day in the life of these medical professionals. So if you have the chance to watch it week to week, that is probably the best way to do it. I would not recommend binge watching this series because it is devastating. And
it's not meant to be binge watched.
No. It's meant to, you're meant to experience the cliffhanger. You're meant to have to sit and stew and contemplate what you just watched, and then a week later get to see the follow-up. And it's worth it. It's worth the wait from week to week. And that's hard to say about a lot of TV these years. So The Pit on HBO Max and HBO.
You should also mention that it just won the Golden Globe, and Noah Wiley won the Golden Globe for Best Actor.
Yep. Yeah. So and that was for last season. Now this season's going to be just as insane because the first 2 episodes have already come out. 3rd episode drops this week. Already, I've just been the same heart pumping kind of excitement from each episode.
Yeah, it's on the list. Eventually, I'll get to it.
It's very.
They're good. So good. They're so good. But
there are some shows like you gotta give yourself a little break.
Get some breathing room on this one. Like don't try to marathon it. You're not. Yeah.
I found Andor like that.
Andor's hard to marathon too.
Yeah.
The Bear.
You need to breathe with it.
All right, Caleb, over to you. What is your wolf of the week?
So my wolf of the week goes. It's in the spirit of the holiday that I hope you have all not only celebrated but just take a moment to reflect on, especially now. But that book is a comic. It is a graphic novel that is produced by Fantagraphics, and it was originally published, I believe, in 2005. But that is Ho Chi Anderson and Stanley Crouch's King, a complete edition, a comics biography of Martin Luther King Jr. As we are recording this, it is MLK Day. It is important to remember him as the I guess the force of change that he was and that he meant to be. What I love about this book, though, is this book does not deify him in a way that a lot of things has, because when you deify something, that allows the reality of their flaws to come in and undermine, kind of who they were and the work that they did. But this takes a look at him and it says, yeah, he was a very important figure. He was not without his own moral failings, though. And I believe that reality is something that we should all pay a lot of attention to, because we live in a very fake fucking world most of the time, in a world that is being overproduced for us by algorithms. This takes a look at the man who he was. It is fantastic. It's available now. You can get it from Fantagraphics, and I think it's well worth your time to put it on your shelf. It's really good, y'all. It is really good. It is a book that should take you a little bit to read as well. So, Ho Chi Anderson's King, a comic biography of Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if there's a link, and I found one, because if we are to believe Nichelle Nichols, the late Nichelle Nichols, Martin Luther King Jr. was a Star Trek fan and convinced her to stay on the show for a third season, if she's to be believed.
Yeah.
Okay. And I want to believe her.
I'll fight you over Nichelle Nichols.
Okay, I think most people will. Yeah.
She's a saint and will be protected.
Shut up, Bill. Yeah. So my wolf of the week goes to the new Star Trek series, Star Trek Starfleet Academy. It is the 12th Star Trek series to be produced for television. It premiered on January 15th with its first 2 episodes, and the remainder of the other 8 episodes are going to be released weekly. And on the series, it takes place in the 32nd century, which, if you watch Discovery, was the period after they did the jump. And where Starfleet is at this point is they've had a war college because of all the chaos that's going on in the universe, but they decide that they're going to restore the Starfleet Academy, and this is the first class in over 100 years that are going to be cadets at Starfleet Academy. The Chancellor is Nala Aki, who is played by Holly Hunter, and she is half human, half Lanathite, so she is long lived. She's over 400 years old, and she's there as both a captain, because there is a starship involved in the actual Starfleet Academy, and also there is to oversee the teachers. The principal cadet that we're going to be following is Caleb Meir, who is a human orphan who had a history, let's put it that way, with Holly Hunter's character. I'm just going to let you watch to figure out what that is. My favorite character, and I think the favorite character of a lot of people, though, if you've been watching this series, is the cadet master in this series, as played by Gina Yashir, who is part Klingon, part Jemadar, all badass. Awesome character. And that's one thing I really liked. I thought this, with this, because Star Trek has always celebrated diversity, and I think that we need a show like this right now. And just on top of that, these are really well-defined characters and some really interesting dynamics at play already in the first 2 episodes. Seeing that there are some cadets that don't exactly get along, so it's going to be interesting to see what their journey is through the academy process. And I just absolutely love this character. So I want her like in every scene.
And she's great. And this is it's a show, I have to say, this show is for Star Trek lore, like lore heads and just the amount of Easter eggs, the number of alien species that pop up here and there, especially from some of the more recent series like Lower Decks. You have the exocomps, which originally, I guess, originated out of I guess it was the Next Generation, but they had achieved sentience and were featured quite a bit in Lower Decks. But they're here again. You also have I can't remember the name of the species, but one of the characters from Prodigy, which was the short-lived Nickelodeon series, that one, his species also, or her species also makes an appearance in this as well. So it's a lot of fun. There's some nitpicking, and I think it's a very PG-13 show, so it might be a little tough to watch with younger potential Star Trek fans, but
for the older ones that have problems with that, the poor dears.
Oh yeah, who cares?
Yeah,
the poor dears.
And just also, just in terms of links to the past, we have Robert Picardo as the Doctor again.
Oh yeah,
as a regular cast member, and also on top of that, I got the total feels when they showed the names of past notable Starfleet officers. I get the feels. And some of it is like the first time we found out what happened to certain characters, what rank they eventually became and stuff,
What rank? You mean like Admiral Henry Kim?
Admiral Harry Kim. Poor son of
Admiral
a bitch. 7 years he's an ensign. 7 years.
He probably went from ensign to admiral with nothing in between.
Yeah, they should have just given.
Here's all your peps.
Saved Voyager's ass so many times. He's still a friggin' ensign 7 years on. Even 7 of 9 had a higher rank going in.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she had a USB
and they just
port.
picked her up.
Yeah. She had a booty.
She was hitchhiking and everything, and they just
Jerry Ryan's.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would make an exception for Jerry.
100%. Yes.
Not Steve, poor soul, but yeah.
She has a detachable penis. I mean, there's like a board attachment for that.
No, thank you. But she is wonderful. I do love Jerry Ryan. Jerry Ryan is great.
Do you have a Star Trek crush?
I mean, Worf kind of was always a crush of mine, but then also Colm, what was his name? Colin O'Brien.
O'Brien. Colm Meaney.
O'Brien.
Yeah.
Colm Meaney. Colin O'Brien. Yeah.
So from Voyager, I always had as a very early age, I always had a thing for Chakotay.
Yeah, that tattoo, that base tattoo was awesome.
The tattoo, the Maori sense. I always thought he was very attractive. There were some characters in Deep Space Nine, and I cannot think of their name at the moment, but there were some Deep Space Nine characters that I thought were very attractive.
Okay.
Which Deep Space Nine remains my favorite. I love Deep Space Nine. It's like a soap opera in space. It's great.
I like elements of it. When they went to soap opera, because the first season isn't really that way.
Yeah.
When they went to soap opera, I started liking it a little bit more.
Yeah.
For me, I like the bad daddies, Harry Mudd.
Yep.
Yeah. The original Harry Mudd.
Yeah.
I don't know. My favorite series was always TNG until Lower Decks, and Lower Decks will now remain forever.
I love Voyager because I always felt it was the closest in spirit to TOS. Yeah, so Voyager's way up there for me. I mean, it was the execution wasn't always great, but the thinking behind it I thought was, and also they were very good at recalibrating. Like when they saw the Kazon was a bust, they just got rid of that. They were evolving and Deep Space. To be fair, Deep Space Nine and TNG also did this. You can see in early TNG, they are clearly focused on Riker as the heartthrob, clearly focused, and then it's Picard. I don't think they ever anticipated that.
Hey, I remember that TV guide cover with him and oh gosh, was it Kathy Ireland? No, it was another supermodel. But basically, it was like the two sexiest people on TV was was Patrick Stewart and a supermodel, and it's like here's P. Stu with like a low cut vest on, all the fur and everything. I was like, they're right.
He's sexy in the same way that like Stanley Tucci is sexy. There's just yeah.
He also shares a pot dealer with my friend in Brooklyn.
Oh, that's
yes, I love him. God damn it.
No one must never know. It's legal.
All right. On that note, again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on social media as Comic Book Bears, save for the Facebook page where we are Comic Book Bears podcast. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and many of the other podcatching platforms. If you want to write to us, you can do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you've joined us through Facebook Live, thank you. If you are joining us later through YouTube, please like and subscribe. We'll be back in about 2.5 weeks as one of us goes on vacation. Lucky stiff. But, Caleb and I will just be like eating potato chips and waiting for him to come back. So I guess.
By the phone.
We'll be doing all kinds of fun things.
Yeah, we're
going to have fun.
We don't have to stay home.
We're not going to tell you what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're not real bad.
Yeah.
Over here just acting snooty like you just because you get to go on vacation, like we're not going to do things.
Yeah.
How dare you insinuate that?
Yeah, and look what he's doing. He's bringing books along.
I
am. I've loaded up my Kindle. My Kindle is ready.
I'm with Steve on this one. I take books on vacation. I 100% do.
I will be reading on that beach. I will be reading all day.
Shut up. Oh my God. I don't want to hear that.
And I'm going to be coming back with recommendations.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
If I'm going to
also,
a beach,
the water's very cold. It is January.
Yeah.
So water's cold.
You don't have to.
I also don't like beach vacations. So if I go to the beach, I'm going to read because I don't really like beach vacations, and that's the most fun. If I get my pick of a vacation, we're going to a city somewhere.
All right, I'm going to get 2 new hosts.
Okay,
Bill, I don't know how to relax. Like that's my problem.
Everybody like, why are the 2 new hosts like they don't like beaches?
They don't like the beach. They're terrible.
The
Anti-beach hosts.
All right, wrapping this one up. If you're listening to the audio version, you're going to hear a woof and an explosion. We'll be back real soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Woof. Boom.